Your college essay is only as good as your introduction. If they're not impressed, they're not going to remember the rest of your essay, especially when they're reading thousands of other essays from qualified candidates just like yourself. You need to stand out in the midst of all of those essays, and the way you do that, or at least the way I think you could do that, is through your introduction. And I'll use some examples for my college essay introduction so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. Before we get into it, I'm going to introduce myself for those of you who may be new to my channel. My name's Priya. I went to the University of Chicago and I graduated last year with a degree in astrophysics, and I work as a data scientist now. And I'm really just here to share all of the information that I've gained during that whole college process and throughout college. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's get into how to write a killer college essay introduction. The first thing that you need to know is, of course, choosing your topic. It needs to be unique to you. It really needs to be personal. The biggest mistake that I see people making is that they choose something that's really vague and they don't really go in depth with that topic. And as a result, there's really nothing to be hooked into. There's really no unique story there. So before you even start thinking about how to perfect your introduction, ensure that your topic is a personal one where you can be raw and honest about your thoughts and your feelings given the experience or event. Second, always start with an anecdote or something descriptive so that you can set the scene. Starting with a personal anecdote is always a hook because no one else has that personal anecdote, People can talk about, very vague things like facing a challenge with a hard class or having to deal with like a bad friendship. Those are very vague, but when you pick something super personal to you, whether it is a vague topic, you can make it personal and you can make it your own story because of the unique things that happen to you. So that's why I always recommend starting with an anecdote, because no one else can really replicate that. So that is a hook. That is something that's unique to you and something that the reader is going to remember and probably not read in anyone else's essay. The second part of this point is being descriptive. Always describe your surroundings. That is how you set a scene, because you're trying to write a whimsical essay where you bring them into your world. You're not trying to write a traditional boring essay that's like a piece of analysis, College application essays are always more of a story. So to bring them into your story, they need to be able to visualize it. So use descriptive features. I'm going to show you an example from my college essay introduction where I did use descriptive features. And you can find all of my essays in my video where I read the essays that got me into U Chicago, Berkeley, UCLA, and Georgia Tech. So this is just an excerpt of one of those essays. So definitely check those out if you haven't already. So I'll read the first two sentences of my introduction where I do describe my surroundings and start with a personal anecdote. So my laptop's down here. Here we are getting ready to witness what could possibly kick off a riot of tens of thousands of enraged men and women. And the guilty pleasure of imagining the end takes me over. I have no control or say in what happens next. This can't be real, I think, as I quickly try to plan an escape route while secretly glimpsing at those who are surrounding me, sizing them up. So what we notice here is that you can tell I'm surrounded by people and that I'm scared and thinking of a way I could escape. Instead of just saying I'm scared and I need to find a way out, I describe my surroundings, and that's what really hooks them in. Tagging on to the last part of this tip, it has to be something unique. So even if you do have a personal anecdote and if you think you're being descriptive, the last part of the checklist is honestly to think about whether someone else could have had the same experience, decided to write about it, and did write about it. If you think that could be the case, that means your topic might not be as personal as you would like. You can, of course, still use the topic. Just remember to add in details, like sprinkle in details that are very unique to you regarding that experience. It could be the place where it happened. It could be the way you're describing it. Whatever it is, make sure you have your own personal spin on it, because it's always the original essays, something that no one else could write, that impress the admissions officers. So reading someone else's essay is only to give you inspiration. It is never to tell you what to write about, because if you do that, it's not going to work. It isn't unique to you. And you don't want to tell someone else's story. Honestly, it's not worth it. Like, if you want to get into college, do it because you're the right fit for that college. My last tip for you, and this usually goes for almost every college essay, always end the introduction with a sentence describing the topic or the main theme of your essay. So when someone goes through reading your introduction, you lead them in with a great story. It's very descriptive. It's very personal to you. And then they get to the last sentence and they realize what your essay is going to be about. So in the back of their mind, they're like, okay, yeah, that's what it's going to be about. That makes sense. Let me keep going. Because you need to set the structure for your essay for it to flow well. The reader needs to understand what's happening. So of course you can be as descriptive as you can, and you could really like have a good flow and really set the scene. But if you don't tell them what the essay is going to be about, it's all for nothing. So after painting a great picture, you have to remember to have almost a straightforward sentence or a sentence that implies the topic of your essay. For example, my introduction described the scene of a cricket stadium, but I didn't mention that it was a cricket stadium until the very last sentence of my introduction. So the whole time I was really bringing them in, hooking them in, but they didn't know where I was. So there was an element of mystery. And the last sentence of my intro gives them insight into what my topic is for the rest of the essay. I'll read my last sentence for you right now. Waves of purple and gold suddenly blazed through the stadium, and while standing there gawking at what seemed to be the victorious end to my first live cricket match, I knew that among all of these strangers, I found a home. So that really wrapped up my introduction because I set the scene, I brought them in, told them something personal, and I ended it with raw, honest emotion because that's truly how I felt. Like, you can't write an essay that other people might think is good if you're not passionate about the subject. So I really honed it in, told them I was in a cricket stadium, and told them that that is where, amongst the strangers, I found a home. So it really adds like a pretty bow, and then they move on to the rest of the essay knowing what it's going to be about. So that's it for my video on how to write a great college essay introduction. Definitely check out my video on how to construct your own narrative for the rest of your essay, because now you have to worry about that now that you have a good intro. That video is almost like an extension to this one on how you could really hone in and set a personal tone to your essay and really find your voice with your story. Thank you so much for watching my video. Definitely comment down below if you have any video suggestions. I'm very open to making videos that you guys want to see. Don't forget to smash that like button for that YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. I am extremely new to YouTube. I've been doing this for like 2 months, and I would really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys at the next video.